Hello. Today we're going to be kicking off with a new series on C programming. Now, I would like us to have, or let's first of all set things straight. Before we begin, I need to have some basic knowledge, some theoretical knowledge in programming, theoretical knowledge in algorithms. This is going to help us, or this is going to facilitate the learning of this course. So today we're going to start by looking at see what is C programming all about. Now this is simply like an object-oriented programming which is used to write programs, many other things. Actually C programming is very powerful and it's been used in writing or in writing operating systems, that is programs for operating systems, writing applications, and even writing compilers for some very famous programming languages like Python, Java, PHP. In fact, this is a very strong programming language. I can say it's like the mother programming language. C, C, and C++. It's a very strong and powerful programming language. So today we're going to move on with let's first of all set. Yeah, we'll just move ahead. Let's look at this. Now let's start by creating a file. Let's create a file. Click on this plus sign over here, new file. Now another way you can do it, you click up here on this file, on the menu up here, hover about this new, click empty file, that's open it. Now another way you can do it, you can use a shortcut that is control shift N. That is shortcut. Now if you're using dev C++ for our program, then use control N to open up a new empty file. Alright, let's save this file. Now whenever we're saving a file, we have to tell the computer that this is a file that we're saving and it belongs to this class of files. So the computer will be able to understand properly. Let's take for example, we are in a school and you are in a class, and each class has its badge. Now your badge simply tells you your class, your information about yourself, like general information about yourself, your class, and all that, right? So this badge simply has your class there. So if someone sees you on campus, that person will know that you belong to this class. So us now being able to name this file, let's say let's name this program as first. Now we're going to add the extension .c. Now what this .c is like our class in this case, in the example I gave, it simply tells the computer that this is a C source file. When we talk about source file, I believe you should know that from programming. Source file is where you write a code so your computer can be able to read it and then compile into an executable format. So this is it. We save this. Now let me just explain this. Now have here the source code file. Source code file is where we write all our programs, everything our program is going to do. Now a compiler is simply a program in the computer which helps now to interpret this source code file into machine language. Now once it does this, that is, it's going to interpret it, link it, and then forms an executable file that if I wish has the .exe extension which can be executed like our normal programs. In normal program has the .exe extension which is executable. So that's what our compiler is going to do. And I believe on this computer we should have the GNU, something of that sort, compiler installed here, and that's what we're going to be using. So we're going to begin with our first C program. So our first C program, let's begin. Write up some series of stuff and I'll explain what to do. Alright, now this up here, it is a header. Now a header is simply a library. Now when we talk about a library, let's come to our normal real world where we get books. Where we get books, we study it. Now a library contains books, as earlier said. The same thing in this case. Now in this library, include stdio.h simply means include a standard library, that is standard input library header. input output header. Now this is a library which contains functions which enables us to input data and to output data. Now this particular library is going to contain things like the scanf function, the scanf function, contains things like the printf. These are the basic functions we're going to see. The scanf function, the printf functions, there's the get function, there's a put function. You can keep naming them, right, which just simply helps us in order to get data and to display data. Now I have here let's include this library, although I'm not going to use it, but it's common. You might need to use it in some cases. That is, we include the program to include now standard library.h. Now this library simply contains things like we have the malloc, we have the run. Don't be confused with these words. As we move ahead, we're going to understand it. We have the run functions, and it has its own specific uses. We'll look at them as we move ahead. Now let's write our first program. Int main, let's return the value of 0, return 0. That's it for our program. Now looking at this here, we have int, we have main, we have this parenthesis, we have this brackets, you have this return 0. Now what this int main, now this main is actually a function which tells the computer this is where your program starts. Anything that is found inside here is what's going to be executed, or that's what's going to be displayed. It's going to be processed and displayed to do whatever it has to do inside, depending on what you enter. So this is our main program, which tells the compiler that everything here is what you're going to work on and display. Now this main function will have in front of it, we have the int. This int simply tells us, simply means an integer. We're going to look at data type that move ahead. It's an integer. It simply tells the program that this main function is going to return an integer, that is, it's going to output an integer. That is, if I were to use it again, we're going to output an integer. Now I have this parenthesis here, this curly bracket, simply tells what this parenthesis simply means is anything you write here is found under this int main function. Means anything inside this bracket is going to be found under this. So now let me bring it. I always like to use real practical real world scenarios to explain. Now let's say we are in a class. Again, we are in a class. Now a class has a wall, so this parenthesis is just like the wall. Anything, this class has a name, which is the main class. It has now the walls. Means that anything found inside the walls of this class is found inside this class. You understand me? Anything found inside the walls of this class is found inside this class. So anything found inside this parenthesis, inside the parenthesis, is found in this main function. So we're going to look at our first function, which is a printf function. Now this printf function is simply going to grab something from the user. It's going to grab something from the programmer itself. It's going to grab something from the programmer itself, and it displays it. Now this printf simply what it simply does is simply output data in such a way that the user can be able to see. So that's what this function does. So printf. Now inside here we have to put in, it depends on what you're doing, but you have to put in this double quotes here, not the single quotes. Using a single quote has, if you use a single quote like this, it has a different meaning and it's not going to work here. So we have to use the double quotes in order to enter it. So anything I enter inside these double quotes, that is any text I enter inside here, is simply going to tell the program that I have entered this. So you display only this. So let us say hello world of programming, world of C programming. Means if I run this particular code, it's going to display. That's what we're going to actually see. So let us run this. Now up here on our menu bar, we have this guy here, the build, which helps us to compile it, compile our program. We have the run, which helps us now to run the program itself after compiling. Then we have the build and run, which is a combination. After you build, you just run immediately. So use this, build and run, and this is it. We have here hello world of C programming. So that's how we write our first program. So in our next video, I will explain some more things.